Hello friends, welcome back to NRI Samay, and this is Srikanth Kocherlakota from Los Angeles. Friends, the suspicious death of honest IAS officer D.K. Ravi from Karnataka cadre has once again brought the discussion of sand mafia to the forefront. Lives are being lost, the problem just keeps growing, and we keep talking as and when such events unfold. Then there's silence again until the next life of an officer or an RTA activist is lost or an officer is suspended due to political pressure from sand mafia. Remember Durga Shakti Nagpal, the UP IAS officer? She was suspended in 2013 and then the harassment of her husband in 2014, and it didn't stop there. Sand mafia, right? What is in it in sand that it ends up in so much of greed and that it takes away lives? Now, to talk about this topic, we do have Debi Goenka ji, the founder, trustee of Mumbai-based Conservation Action Trust. You can go to the website http://cat.org.in, cat.org.in. Goenka ji is India's well-known conservationist and working in field of environmental protection since 1975. Has pioneered several successful campaigns to protect the natural environment. Some of the most notable success stories have been the protection of mangroves, the protection of Borivali National Park, and the success in protecting over 3,500 square kilometers of forests in Vidarbha from denotification. He's also been involved in campaigns to prevent denotification of the Melghat Tiger Sanctuary, the notification of Dahan Taluka as an ecologically sensitive area, the protection of the coastal areas in Murud, Janjira, the declaration of Nandur bird sanctuary, as well as campaign against Enron. Goenka ji, first of all, thank you so much for taking time off today and talking to our listeners, sir.
You're most welcome, sir.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, phenomenal, and I feel really honored to be talking to you today. Sir, first of all, sand mafia. Sir, who are these people, sir? Why are they so powerful?
Well, first of all, it's a countrywide problem, and it's not confined to any one part of the country. The main reason why the sand mafia is thriving is because of the immense amount of construction activity that is going on throughout the country. And the sad part is we seem to have forgotten all about traditional building practices and traditional building materials. And all the new buildings that you can see coming up are RCC, cement, concrete buildings. And all these obviously require huge quantity of sand. So what used to be a traditional occupation, where a person would take a bullock cart or bring a cart load of sand for constructing his house, maybe once in 10 years or maybe once in a lifetime perhaps, has now become into a thriving racket where hundreds and thousands of trucks are deployed to brazenly mine sand from the riverbed, from our beaches, in fact, wherever a road access is possible. This is actually the racket that is going on.
Right. Sir, can we safely assume that this is the fallout of the LPG phenomenon, which is liberalization, privatization, globalization, and also we see, the economic tide with all this, after post-1992 events, P.V. Narasimha Rao's reforms and all, somehow, somewhere we lost track, and then this became a rampant issue. Do you really buy this idea, this sort of rhetoric, sir?
Well, as I said, it is actually the construction industry and road construction and other projects that is fueling the demand for sand. Now, what is happening is at the local level, obviously, it is the rich and powerful and influential people at the village level, at the small town level, who actually have the capital to invest in trucks and in mining machinery. And for a policeman on duty or a low-level revenue officer functioning at the village level, he has a choice. Either he, takes a bribe and keeps his eyes and mouth closed, or he tries to take action and then risks getting beaten up or in some places even killed. And very unfortunately, as it so happens, the lower-level functionaries at the field staff don't get the support they need from their top bosses, because the top bosses are also most often being paid off. So this is actually this vicious combination at work which is resulting in this kind of situation. Activists like me who complain, threatened, are sometimes physically assaulted, and as we've discovered in a few cases, officers have been killed also. It is actually a sad state of affairs in India, where the authorities turn a blind eye and see this happen.
Right. Sir, I've seen that you've worked on many land denotifications, and also your profile, sir, I'm deeply honored to talk to you as well, as I mentioned earlier also. And you've been dealing with, environmental protection, dealing with national parks, and then procuring, ensuring that the lands are not taken away and all of this stuff. So, and also in this conversation you mentioned earlier that, it ends up in you complaining to officials and a lot of threats happening. So, what did you go through personally, sir? I just wanted to get a sense of what did you go through personally?
I don't think there was one earth-shattering experience that made me turn into an environmentalist. I think even as a child, I remember I was very fond of wildlife and I used to read books, about birds, animals, and I think Jim Corbett was actually a very inspirational author for me. I read his books, all his books, and I think I've read them dozens of times. When I was in college, we actually had a very active hiking club. And practically every weekend during the monsoon, we would be out in the Sayadris, the Western Ghats, going for an overnight trek over the weekend. And I think the transformation from seeing, leaving the dirty, smelly city in the middle of the night and traveling by a local train 2 hours, 3 hours out into the countryside, and then seeing the transformation happen before your eyes, I think that had a very deep impact on me. So from literally a dirty, smelly hellhole to paradise on earth within 6 hours, actually made me wonder, what are we doing to ourselves? And after the hike, we would return home tired and do the journey in reverse and come back to this dirty, smelly, stinking city. And I think that somehow triggered off something in my head. And during my hikes, I also somehow became interested in bird watching. The result of my bird watching experience was that I started becoming very unpopular amongst my fellow hikers because I was constantly slowing them down every time I pulled out my binoculars to look at a bird.
Right.
So I had to give up my hiking and join the World Wildlife Fund in those days, as well as the Bombay Natural History Society, where I picked up bird watching. And that's the beginning of a long, long story.
Right, I can imagine. So it all starts off with childhood passion, compassion, and towards anything that we pick up later on in life. So it seems like you've got that background of you yourself being motivated with the environment and other things that you've seen around. As you mentioned, also the bird watching and love towards that side of the world. Sir, let me understand this. How deep is this mafia, sir? Because when officers are being killed and all of this, we tend to talk about this topic, but you would know for sure what's happening around this. How deep does this mafia go, sir?
I think this mafia, as I said, starts from the village level and very often reaches right up to the top, even to the state level. And very often the ministers and perhaps in a few cases even the chief minister is aware of what is going on. And obviously for some reason or the other, maybe it is that these people can guarantee them votes, maybe it is that people can give them large sums of money, or maybe it is a combination of both that keeps this happening. The other problem, of course, is that, the revenue department is in charge of making sure that this does not happen. And the revenue department is not a field department. It is actually the police which has a crucial role to play. But since the police have no direct responsibility in stopping sand mining, and because the two departments don't work together, you find that revenue officers who are trying to stop the sand mining often get targeted. So this rot runs across the system. For an NGO or for an activist who sees the damage happening before his eyes, he can only complain. And when he complains, his complaints are not treated anonymous. The people who are doing the sand mining find out who is behind it. And the individual will complain and gets targeted. and attempts to bring in things like Whistleblower Act and give protection to activists is just not happening. That is the sad reality. And the fact that an IAS officer or who is actually supposed to be part of this bureaucracy that runs the country can get killed with impunity is actually a very, very sad sign of what is actually going wrong with this country.
So do we have any sort of official numbers from the government on this sand-related erosion issues or anything? Does government track anything in regards to how the sand is being eroded by this mafia, sir?
Well, in theory and on paper, there is a system. In fact, when you do sand mining, when you do any kind of sand mining, you are required to apply for permission, and you get a permit. You are required to pay a certain nominal amount as royalty to government, and every truckload of sand that is being transported requires a transit pass. Now, what is actually happening is, in the field, nobody keeps track at all of how many trucks are being mined. On the basis of one single permit, the sand mining may continue indefinitely for months. A nominal amount of royalty would be paid, but that same, maybe 100 or in some cases maybe even 500 times the quantity of sand would be extracted from the riverbed or from a quarry or from the beach and transported away. And there is no physical check at all. So obviously, this raw material is practically free as far as this miner is concerned. All he has to do is cover his operating costs and whatever, and the rest is profit. Therefore, he has enough money to pay off the politicians, to pay off the police, to pay off corrupt officers, and also hire henchmen to do his bidding. So things like introducing modern technology to track all this is just not happening.
When you say modern technology, sir, how do you think that can be imbibed, sir?
Well, for a simple thing, the department can insist that there should be GPS devices fitted on all the trucks, and it would be very easy then to track the movement of trucks even sitting in a remote location or in an air-conditioned office. There could be actually some kind of physical checking put in place. There could be better coordination between the police and the revenue department, and of course the environment department, which is practically non-existent. And obviously, if the local population is also brought on board and encouraged to report signs of illegal activity instead of being threatened and being allowed to be browbeaten, obviously all of this would help. It is actually no secret who is doing the sand mining and where it is happening. The signs are obvious, the physical locations are visible. Every local villager or every local person knows who the kingpins are behind the racket. It's just that the police and the revenue department are too scared or too corrupt to take action. And given the fact that there are huge judicial delays also in this country, there is no speedy trial or speedy punishment, this kind of racket continues indefinitely.
Right. Sir, you also added a point about RTI activists and how anonymity would play a key role, and unfortunately it's not happening. Sir, is RTI anonymous not possible in the country right now, sir? Let's imagine you are an activist in Mumbai, and let's imagine I'm from Andhra Pradesh. Can't I anonymously, that means, file an RTI about the problem that you feel, is that not a possibility, sir? Like a proxy RTI?
No. The problem is that whoever is filing an RTI has to give his name and address. And in fact, the documents are supposed to be sent to the person by speed post or registered post, or if it chooses not to collect them physically. So obviously, it cannot be an anonymous RTI. Even if I use a proxy, the proxy name and address would be known, and then somebody would land up at his house and threaten him, find out who the real person behind it is, and why should I put somebody else's life in danger? And there is also a system in place which is actually very, very well oiled and very, very efficient. For example, if I file an RTI request, and this actually happened to me 2 weeks ago, I requested the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai City to give me certain information about the building plans information granted to a very powerful builder in the city. And I think within 24 hours of my RTI application being submitted, I get a phone call from the builder asking me why do I need this kind of information.
Wow.
So forget about anonymity. There is an actual system in place where any application filed concerning builders or industrialists or whatever, they immediately get tipped off, and obviously they have people strategically placed in all critical departments who are well paid to convey this information to them.
Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. So, why is sand mining regulated, sir? Of course, there are valid reasons, because unless it is not regulated. Let's talk the bookish details about why sand is regulated in the first place.
Well, I think traditionally sand is actually a minor mineral, and all mineral rights belong to government, excepting a few specific cases where there may be exceptions. But government has a traditional habit of them trying to make money out of every resource that it commands. As I said earlier, in the good old days where the requirement of sand was very low, there was actually no problem. Villagers would, take whatever they actually needed and use it for their own housing. And commercial sand was not in much demand. But with this boom of cement concrete buildings, obviously the quantity of sand required has dramatically shot up. And the fact that the construction industry is a booming sector in this country has also made demand go up astronomically. Now, sand is a finite resource. I mean, there is no such thing as an inexhaustible supply of sand anywhere in the world. The people seem to think that it is limitless. Now, if you indiscriminately mine sand along a riverbank, it affects the groundwater. It may actually seriously even change the course of the river or stream and lead to flooding in unexpected cases. It obviously has ecological implications also, because some of these species estivate, which is during the dry period when the river or the water body dries up. They actually bury themselves under the surface and hibernate until the rains come back again. If you talk about sand mining along the coastline, obviously indiscriminate and mining of sand in large quantities accelerates erosion of beaches, and we see that erosion has become a serious problem practically everywhere along the coastline in India.
Right.
So these are fundamental reasons why sand mining has to be regulated, not only from a financial point of view, but even from an environmental perspective, an ecological perspective, and from preventing physical damage to the riverbanks and to our shorelines.
Right. And as far as if we talk about demographics, sir, so is this phenomenon across the country, northeast, west, south, no matter what place we do, is this rampant across the country, sir, or is it specifically focused more in the Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, or these kind of regions where we are hearing about these issues? What do you think, sir?
No, I think it is rampant throughout the country. Maybe it is not happening to such a great extent in the northeast, where traditional building materials are still being employed and construction is not happening at such a great pace. Maybe it is not actually, again, happening in Jammu and Kashmir. But I think barring these two exceptions, I would say this is a problem happening almost in every other part of India.
So this recent hope that was created in Delhi, and then with the new political parties surfacing and imbibing a sense of hope as far as the corruption and also the mafia is concerned, whether it is water or other mining activities. In 2013, the AAP government in Delhi, they said that they've stopped all this sand mining happening in the riverbed of Yamuna. Do you think this new political parties that are surfacing and talking about good, clean politics and handling of these sort of corruption nexus issues would bring in change as far as this is concerned, sir?
If you are talking about AAP, I think most Indians seem to have welcomed AAP as a great possibility for change in the political system in India. And I think initially everybody was gung-ho about AAP and the message and the values it espoused.
Right.
But unfortunately, that sense of optimism was short-lived. People never forgave them from running away. They did very badly in the national election, excepting in Delhi when they, swept back with an overwhelming majority.
Right.
And that overwhelming majority again seems to have triggered off another round of internal dissension and whatever. It has made the leader of the party the supreme commander and completely invincible. And in fact, yesterday the party seems to have split, with two of the key founders having left, saying that there's no internal democracy and whatever. And the leader of the party is acting like a dictator. So these are again very troubling signs for people like me, because if your last hope is actually going through this stress and strain, I don't think we have a very happy future before us.
Right.
As far as the National Party is concerned, they also came into power promising change, promising dynamic decision-making process, and so on and so forth. But again, unfortunately, their vision of development is quite different from mine. I think their development is crony capitalism, helping the rich get richer at the expense of the poor. And the fact that, hundreds of thousands of people are dying because of pollution in India every year does not seem to bother them. The entire emphasis in decision-making seems to be to dilute all kinds of environmental laws and safeguards and encourage big industries to come up, encourage road-building projects, even through national parks and sanctuaries. And environment is very, very, very low down in their pecking order. It's a very, very sad state of affairs indeed.
Right. And this Yamuna, in the Yamuna riverbed, the mining that got stopped, is that a good sign, sir, or it's just it happened and then there's no track of what's happening as far as Delhi is concerned?
No, actually, as far as the Yamuna is concerned, there was already an order passed by the National Green Tribunal banning all kinds of activities along the Yamuna riverbed. And that was actually stopped because of a court order. The Aam Aadmi Party, of course, amongst various of the promises it made, also said something about, stopping all these kind of illegal activities. And obviously, corruption was very, very high on the Aam Aadmi Party agenda also. But as I said, they, in the last round, they very quickly lost power. In the second round, where they've come back with, as I said, an overwhelming majority, the party seems more busy with their internal politics and taking decisions for the benefit of the common man. But I think things are really still to settle down. And if the party splits as it is expected to, then God knows what is in store again for the citizens of Delhi.
Right. Understood. So let's come back to this state called Andhra Pradesh. I just wanted to get a sense of this because this is something that I've read. There was a total ban on sand mining in Andhra Pradesh last year. Then the government gave sand mining leases to women. Do you have any information on what happened in this, sir? Can you enlighten us if you have any details?
No, I don't have actually any data on how many permits were actually given to women and how successful that experiment has been.
But what is that experiment about, sir?
I can also illustrate, I can make a very general point that in India, even within the political system, there are certain number of seats reserved for women.
Right.
And what has actually happened is the wives of politicians then contest these seats. The husbands lobby for them, and the women actually, unfortunately, become spokes or mouthpieces of their husbands. So giving permissions to women only means that the woman will make the application instead of the husband, and the rest of the situation would perhaps remain unchanged.
Right. So true. as you mentioned, in the political space, that's how it has been. Husbands lobbying and then getting the wives in and then operating it from the back end. End of the day, it's all power, no matter who it is. It's just the family that.
And for the benefit of your American listeners, I think women in India, unfortunately, don't have much power vis-a-vis financial decisions, barring, of course, the highly educated, highly visible women of India, who most Americans tend to see. But women empowerment in India still has a long journey to make before Indian women can stand up on par with their male counterparts.
Right. And was this true, sir, that there is total ban of sand mining in Andhra Pradesh?
No, there was, as I said, a blanket ban on sand mining because of the National Green Tribunal. Even in Maharashtra, for example, before the NGT ban, there was a High Court order banning sand mining, precisely because of these reasons. And what the High Court in Maharashtra decided that only traditional methods of sand mining, manual mining, would be permitted by local cooperative societies, so that the commercial miners who are doing most of the destruction would be kept out. Our experience has been that for a while this ban was enforced. Then, as things typically happen in this country, clandestine commercial mining resumed. And as far as I am aware, it is still going on in very many areas. Because the construction industry requires, as I said, large quantities of sand. And the traditional method of mining obviously does not give them the quantities that they need.
Right.
And all that actually happens is the price goes up because, more drives have to be made, more whatever expenses have to be incurred.
Right. And, sir, because we're talking about courts here, the Supreme Court also has given multiple rulings on this, and there are so many PILs out there. So is Supreme Court taking cognizance of this issue, which is rampant, and, officers losing lives, should somehow trigger some sort of debate, a broader debate? It happened in 2013, but it was more talking about, Uttar Pradesh government and the bureaucracy tussle as far as Durga Shakti Nagpal's issue is concerned. So they don't talk about the deeper issues of how sand mafia and people who are operating it are behind this whole, their motives are what is driving, bureaucrats away from the government as well. So what's Supreme Court saying, sir? Do we have any rulings that's pending, and do we have any hope that Supreme Court would take cognizance of this and then push in some sort of the government is anyway not doing any reforms, but do you think Supreme Court would interfere in this?
You've asked me actually a very interesting question. See, first of all, the Supreme Court in this country has played a very, very important role on a wide range of social issues, be it environmental, be it women's rights, be it human rights, be it child welfare, whatever. I mean, the Supreme Court over the decades has passed amazing judgments, pushing the fabric and pushing the government to do things that government would otherwise never have done. Unfortunately, one of the consequences of these kind of judgments has been the bureaucracy and particularly the political masters who rule the country have accused the judiciary of overreach and getting into the domain of policy making. This has led to a result where the Supreme Court seems to have buckled down under this kind of counter-attack from the politicians. And of late, we find that the Supreme Court has not really taken the initiative in passing very many bold judgments as it has done in the past. The second unfortunate thing has been that, corruption in society seems to have even reached the judiciary, even at the highest level. There are rampant accusations of corruption even within the Supreme Court.
Right.
And in the one shocking case, an affidavit has actually been filed in the Supreme Court saying that so many former Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of India have been known to be corrupt. And in fact, no action has been taken against the person who has filed the affidavit by the Supreme Court, which itself sends a very clear signal to all concerned. So we do actually need to clean up the system at all levels. And I really wish every political party like the AAP luck in cleaning the mess that is there all over the country. But it seems to be a very, very difficult battle. The second part of the story is that even assuming that the Supreme Court passes an order, uh, how the Supreme Court actually has no mechanism to ensure that the order is implemented. It is again dependent on the same set of officers to ensure that the orders are being complied with. And that is really where we run up against the problem.
Interesting. Yeah. So Supreme Court does its job, but the guys who implement it are always the same. So that ends up in a loop, an infinite loop, which never unveils itself. Sir.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
Sir, let's talk before I wrap up the significance of the IAS officer D.K. Ravi's work. I know you would have collected some material and also closely would have followed this issue. What's the significance of D.K. Raviji's work in controlling sand mafia, sir? What do we know so far about the connection between his death and the sand mafia? It's really unfortunate, so saddened by that episode. But what's your take on that, sir?
Well, see, as far as this particular incident is concerned, I have no first-hand knowledge. But apparently, as a field officer before his earlier posting, he did take on the sand mafia and he was able to crack down and stop sand mining, or at least control it to a large extent within his jurisdiction. Now, apparently, in a new posting, he continued with his work. Obviously, that new assignment had nothing to do with sand mining. But apparently, he again took on cases where influential people had tweaked the system to get contracts and, get decisions made in their favor at the cost of the common man. And the fact that the police commissioner visited the spot within a few hours and treated it as a case of suicide. The minister and CM actually even went to the murder spot, which is really unheard of. Itself seems to indicate that there was a very high level of interest in this particular officer's actions and what led to his murder. Now the investigation is still going on. Who the actual person responsible are is still to be revealed. And I think when the details are available, the way the system functions, the trial may drag on for decades. And God knows who will live to see the end of the case.
Right. Sir, you've brought about the role of citizens, who can report these issues, and also you've explained the importance of how technology can be imbibed. Are there any other things? You've been working on all of these environmental issues for almost 25 to 30 years right now. Is there something that you feel that a sense of innovation or ideas that you have, if probably projected to the citizens or listeners who are listening to the show, would make a world of difference as far as addressing these sort of issues? Do you have something in your mind, sir, that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we haven't talked about is things like energy requirements and so on. Now, India has got a long way to go before we catch up with the kind of per capita energy consumption figures. India lags way behind most developed countries. The government of India, of course, has been looking at conventional solutions and wanting to expand into the power sector through a combination of coal, hydel, and nuclear. My NGO and like-minded people have actually been saying that to keep on investing in coal in the current scenario is a very, very short-sighted approach. We are actually living in an era where renewable energy is now cost competitive with fossil fuels, even without any kind of subsidies. And of course, assuming that you remove the subsidies that the fossil fuel industries enjoy, renewable energy is probably way ahead.
Right.
And it is actually an era in which you can offer decentralized power solutions to every consumer. And I think the manner in which renewable energy technology is, expanding, the efficiencies are improving, the cost of production is declining, is actually revolutionary. And I think even the traditional problem that used to bog down renewable energy thing, which was issue of storage and so on, are now being tackled. And I think once your new Tesla factory is operational back in the US with the new technology that they have discovered, I think storage costs of electricity will dramatically come down.
Right.
So I really think it is up to the government of India to not make the same mistake that people did 100 years ago by investing in coal and investing in all the dirty fuels. We have the option of leapfrogging into a clean world, into a cleaner technology. And this is something that I would really urge our decision makers to consider very, very seriously.
Absolutely, sir, absolutely. And also, along with the renewable energy, spending more on renewable energy and thinking on those lines, and understanding how to drive the new gen world. So recently, I just wanted to share this information with you as well. We have interviewed an IIT Chennai, IIT Madras Professor Devdas Menon, and his innovation, and also his team who's worked and also perfected the use of prefabricated panels made out of waste generated by the fertilizer industry, gypsum, a technology that makes construction rapid, cost-effective, and also green technologies. So in lines of what you're talking, sir, I think these sort of experiments is also needed, as like, the ARP experiment in Delhi as far as politics is concerned. I think in the industry side of it as well, there is a need to allow innovation and also drive the entrepreneurship in these sort of things. Also makes a world of difference. And that's something I just wanted to share, because you're talking about renewable energy and how we can drive the nation in a much better way than investing on age-old, phenomenon of using the coal again and again.
Yes, and obviously, if India goes in for renewable energy in a big way, and in fact follows the lead set by China now, I think we would be very successful in dealing with the problem of climate change and so on, which is, I think, one of the biggest problems confronting mankind today. So really, I think it is up to the government of India to set an example in this direction. And I hope that things will improve for the better in this country.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much on that note, sir. Debi Goenka ji, thank you so much for spending time today. I know it's a quick call. You've been out of town, but thank you so much, sir.
You're most welcome. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. So, friends, that was Debi Goenka ji, conservationist, has been working since 1975 in the field of environmental protection. We talked about multiple things: the citizen participation, people, and also strengthening institutions, and how politics and governance can make a world of difference. Talked about how activists and other bureaucrats and officers are struggling in order to get these things right as far as the sand mafia is concerned. And talked about various topics, how citizens can help as well, and how governments should consider, going forward with this new gen, not relying much on coal, and also taking the new gen technologies that can help the country thrive better. So, friends, you can listen to all our shows, NRI Samay shows, at nrisamay.com. And also you can go to youtube.com/NRI Samay. Multiple shows in regards to construction industry and other things. You can go and then take a look at it. And do not forget to visit this website, cat.org.in. And Debi Goenka ji is a founding member and trustee of this Mumbai-based Conservation Action Trust NGO as well. Worked in field of environmental protection for a long, long time and pioneered several successful campaigns to protect the natural environment. Do read about Debi Goenka ji. Just Google for it and you can find multiple articles. I read a Wall Street Journal blog of Debi Goenka ji. Phenomenal person, and it's a pride as well to talk to a person like Goenka ji. Thank you so much, friends, for listening. Come back again every Saturday, every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. India time, and 11 a.m. Eastern time as well, USA time. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye.